I look back on my career, the biggest advantage I had wasn't some perfect plan or a flawless portfolio or family wealth and connections to fall back on. It was the people around me. Managers who saw something in me, people that took the time to teach me things that I never learned at university, people who backed me in rooms that I wasn't even in, and people that trusted me with something bigger than I might have been ready for. And the more time that I spend in this profession, the more convinced that I am that it isn't just a nice story about nice people doing nice things, it is part of the job. Architecture isn't a solo pursuit, and it never has been. In my mind, it's an apprenticeship profession pretending to be a meritocracy. We seem to tell ourselves that our careers are built on output alone. Work hard, keep your head down, and be useful, and eventually the system will notice you. But you and I both know that's not how it works in practice. People don't progress because they're quietly brilliant. They progress because somebody knows that they're good, trusts their judgment, and is willing to put them forward. And that's what mentoring really is, not charity. It's how the profession grows and reproduces itself, how standards are transmitted, confidence is built, and ultimately how people become leaders. Let me tell you a story. In one of the larger practices that I worked in, I learned something important about scale. Now, previously, in my small studio, my work was naturally visible. People overhear your conversations and they watch you solve problems in real time. Your reputation forms through proximity. But in a large practice, you can be brilliant and still be invisible to most people, or your effort gets trapped inside your screen, your email threads, and your project meetings. You become useful, but not necessarily known. A name on a resourcing schedule rather than a person that people feel invested in. Now, I didn't want to be one of those more competent architects floating through this big machine, so I leaned into something I generally cared about, helping other people get better. I got involved in the education activities. I started mentoring junior members of the team. I gave up my free time to support Part 3 candidates. I organised work experience initiatives and introduced an apprenticeship scheme. I even started connecting the practice with schools and charities. Eventually, I became the head of education. There was no big strategy at the start, but they were just my real interests and passions. But it did become the thing I was known for, and that mattered more than I expected. Being known for something gives you a kind of gravitational pull. It makes it easier for people to place you, gives them a story that they can repeat about you. And in a large practice, that kind of legibility is rare and genuinely valuable. It's funny, your early career is relatively straightforward. You become useful, you learn how to do the job, you get competent and be reliable, and you deliver things. But then you hit mid-career and the rules change, and nobody really sits down and explains how. It stops being about whether you can do the work and starts being about whether you can be trusted with complexity, whether you can lead a conversation rather than just be in one, and whether you can make decisions rather than just execute other people's ideas. And most importantly, whether you can raise the people around you. That's management. And one of the fastest ways to demonstrate that before you're officially given it is to start mentoring. The unexpected upside of this is advocacy in every direction. When you mentor, you don't just build capability in someone else, you build trust and new relationships. Senior people have power, but junior architects matter too. They might not be signing off your promotion, but they shape the culture around you. They talk, they share their experiences, and they become the sort of people that say, if you want to learn, go to them. And when enough people in a practice feel supported by you, you become someone the organisation doesn't want to lose. You also become someone the leadership pays attention to, because you're not just delivering the projects, you're strengthening the whole team. Mentoring creates advocacy in every direction. Upwards, leadership sees that you're developing people and reducing risk. Sideways, your peers see that you're raising standards without showing off. And downwards, your junior staff experience you as someone who makes the profession make sense. And that is influence, not in the performative LinkedIn kind, but the kind that changes how people talk about you when you're not in the room. A lot of architects think that management is a separate skill set, something you switch on when your title changes or when someone gives you the permission to. It's not. Management is mostly communication, judgment, emotional steadiness, and the ability to actually make a decision. Mentoring trains all of that. And when you mentor someone, you're doing the actual work of leadership. Explaining the bigger picture, why a decision matters and not just what to do, giving feedback without making it personal. tolerating the discomfort of watching someone struggle without jumping in, and translating the messy complexity of architecture into clear next steps. And if you can do that consistently, you're already operating like a manager. You just haven't been labeled as one yet. The reason most architects avoid mentoring is simple: time. They have their own work, they have their own deadlines, and for the most part are just about keeping their head above water. And done badly, mentoring becomes a drain. The big lesson that I learned is that mentoring is not doing someone else's work for them, it's improving how they think. Your job is not to become the architectural ChatGPT, it's to help them build a better process. Ask for options, not problems. When someone brings you a question, don't immediately solve it for them. Ask them, what do they think the options are? What would they recommend? What's the risk if they get it wrong? You're teaching them how to arrive at an answer, not just handing one out. You can keep it small and regular. Mentoring doesn't need a formal program or contract. Sometimes it's 10 minutes after a meeting, a quick debrief after a client call, or 5 minutes to talk me through what you're thinking at someone's desk. Teaching frameworks that scale, how to write a clear update, how to frame a decision in an email, how to prepare for a pin-up. And once someone has that framework, they rely on you less. And what you've taught them can then spread beyond the two of you into an office pro forma. If mentoring does matter to you, make sure it's legible, not just in a performative way. You can calmly and factually do it so people around you understand what you're doing and what it's producing. Mention in your one-to-ones that you've been supporting a junior in a specific area and what the impact it's having. Create a reusable checklist, an onboarding note, a template so that your mentoring becomes visible through the outputs. And give up juniors opportunities to present. Then back them quietly so they succeed. Their growth becomes evidence of your leadership. A lot of practices say that they value mentoring, but very few do anything about it. You could be that person to move it forward. So one task for this week, if you will indulge me, pick someone early in their career and give them 20 minutes. Ask them to bring you one thing that feels unclear or slightly intimidating right now, and then help them structure it. What decision needs to be made, why it matters, what the options are, and what they would recommend and why. You're the guide, not the answer. Show them the process and share a bit of your own experience, and then let them work it out. The people that have helped you build your career once did exactly this. Now pass it on.